2. This is the Aaron J Show, aka the Aaron J Podcast. This is episode 5. Today is September 6th, Friday, 2019. So today we're going to, similar to the past, which like I said, we're going to start with more free-formed, I guess, off-the-hip podcast as opposed, which is more traditional from what I'm starting to research into other podcasts, which I try not to do because I don't want to get other people, like 50 Cent, the rapper, said that he never listened to other artists' music because he didn't want it to subconsciously seep into his, and, you know, then it changes. You somehow end up biting off their style by accident. So I try not to listen to other podcasts, although I'm an avid listener of Joe Rogan's podcast because he's, brilliant. But besides that, I try to keep it, I try to stay more, I look for the structure of what they do, especially the more successful ones, because that's the level I'm trying to get to. So I try to look at how they do, and it seems to be more shoot from the hip, speak from your heart versus what'll get you the most likes, if that makes any sense. Like, what's the most down the middle of the road topics, like pop culture stuff, which I do. I mean, obviously I do pop culture stuff. The Weekend Review is probably the best example of that. More pop culture stuff because obviously that's what I'm more versed in, is pop culture, sports, stuff like that. Real life issues is definitely what I'm real versed in. So we're going to try to stick to that. Some topics may strike you as, I wouldn't say controversial by my standards, because I'm come from a family where we discuss everything. That's how we operate. That's how you learn, is by having open dialogues with people. I think that's where the world goes wrong, is that we don't talk to each other about everything. So a lot of stuff strikes people as odd, or they don't understand certain behaviors. Like my last episode, I got some really good feedback from that with dealing with culture police, where we as black people tend to, police ourselves as far as what's quote unquote black, what makes you black, and are you black enough, and stuff like that. So that was last episode's topic. That was pretty much the brunt of it, was a verbal assault on Azalea Banks, our troll culture, and the culture police. But this one is going to deal with more real life issues as far as, I guess, relationships. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So hunker down, put your adult hats on, and just be prepared to. It's not going to get too bad because it's just stuff that we deal with every day. So today's topic is what makes people cheat. So I feel that's a pretty broad topic because people have different reasons, people have different definitions, people have different thought processes on it. So I did ask several people during the course of today, through text messages and emails and what have you, of what in the past in their situations, what has made them cheat or what made them consider it. And the pretty much the same refrain I get is from guys and females is inadequacies, and basically inadequacies, and of course lust. Lust is the main culprit, but it's mainly inadequacies that their lustful side outranks or overshadows their love side. And that's what makes them step out of their particular situations and pursue extramarital affairs and, boyfriend, girlfriend, just, cheating, call it what it is. So what I discovered was, we're going to speak for me personally, and then we'll go into what they said, and then we'll wrap it up and talk about some other stuff. We'll probably make this another 45-minute one because, as we all know, the editing process is a bitch. And if I can make it a tight 45 or tight 55, that's better for me because it's a lot less work on my part. I'm lazy. This is my dream, but I'm still lazy. So I guess like I said, the common refrain was inadequacy. So it was what my girlfriend or wife or husband wasn't doing. So in some situations it was, and if I come off as vague, it's because I'm trying to keep these people out of it for personal reasons, because that's not, I don't want to be a blabber. That's not it's not my job to snitch on people. But a lot of it came from what somebody wasn't doing. So it's usually sex-based, obviously. But I know with guys, especially speaking for myself and other guys that I've talked to, it was based off of the moment. So where you're not intending on, you don't leave out the house saying, today I'm going to cheat. It's one of those situations where you find yourself in an odd predicament. So like you find yourself in a one-on-one scenario with a female who you're attracted to, or you'll find yourself longing for something or wanting something and somebody else offers it, and so that's what makes you go with that person. And it's not necessarily that you want to be with that person, because I hear people say it all the time. Well, if you're going to cheat, you must be with that person. No, you may not necessarily want that person. It may just strictly be a animalistic attraction on a physical, like it's a physical attraction. It's not anything to do with an emotional bond you have with that person, which can grow from it, which I've seen happen countless times, to where you don't intend to like that person. It's just strictly, it's just strictly physical. It's strictly because she's attractive to you. She's quote unquote, talking that good shit. So you're like, well, let me try. And it's the thing of wanting to sample the spices of life. And sometimes sampling can go too far, and you end up, what turned out you just trying to sample of that restaurant's food. You end up being a lifelong patron, which happens. Or you end up getting pregnant, which is always a bad look, because then now the kid is involved in a situation that the kid didn't need to be involved in, and what have you, and then it goes completely south. So what turned out to be a good time and a fling, and all of a sudden is something far more serious, and it gets really hairy at that time. Also, I think people, but that's, it all ties into it. But I think people cheat because, like I said, it's an inadequacy. It's my husband doesn't show me this type of with females, I've noticed it's mainly attention. So it's like my husband doesn't show me this attention. He doesn't physically ravage me like this guy does. He doesn't look at me the same way this guy does. To him, I'm just his wife or the mom to his kids, and that's it. But to the guy on the side, she's this physical creature that he lusts after. He thinks about her, texts her all day, thinks about her body all day. Like it's a physical thing at that point. And she, felt the inadequacies of not being wanted physically or treasured physically. And this dude is saying, he may not even be as established as her husband. He may not even be as a provider like that, but something he's saying or making her feel a certain type of way, quote unquote, to quote the youth, making her feel a certain type of way. And so she goes over and she samples what he's got. And that happens a lot. I've seen it happen a lot, to where a woman will be a devoted wife, a devoted mom, and, it's Betty Sue homemaker, but this cat comes along and he's talking that good shit and makes her feel wanted, makes her feel desired. He looks at her in a way that a lion would look at a gazelle, licks his chops. Like, he looks at her with that look of desire and want. And that's what she wants. She wants to feel. Females, for as refined as they sometimes appear to be, are just like us as far as men goes, as far as a thing with their privates. We all do it. I think it's a common misconception when people say, oh, dudes just think with their dicks and this and that. Yeah, females just think with their vaginas. I've seen it happen countless times. We discussed that before, where I've seen a female accept far less from a dude, but because the dude's got, a third leg, all of a sudden his flaws aren't as prevalent as they would be if he had a Peter Weeder. So it's that ties into it. But it's definitely, I think, a lust factor. It's the where she doesn't do this, but she says she do this. Case in point, I'll give you a quick example. This is somebody who I know personally, and they were telling me a story of, because when I asked for this topic today, I thought people were going to give me the old vague ass, what? We don't cheat. But they opened up to me like I was Barbara Walters. And so this one cat was telling me about a situation where he had a girlfriend. She's a, decent, good girl to him, treated him nice, respected him, all the stuff you would want from a girlfriend. But she didn't do everything. She didn't do everything to the umpteenth power. Like, okay, we're all grown. She give him oral. She go down on him, but it wasn't with passion. It wasn't with a disgusting porno passion. Like, you ever see the chicks in a porno where you have some porno girls who, when they do oral, they do it like just regularly doing it, like and then get it over with. And then there's some females that do it that like that's they shit, like that's they go at it like Picasso goes at a canvas. You know what I'm saying? They're artists with it. So it was a situation where his girlfriend was decent enough on the resume, on the piece on paper, she was perfect. You wife her, she's what you would look for in a wife, in a girlfriend, a mother to your child, everything. But she didn't do everything like he liked. And so instead of him making her feel, because he didn't want to make her feel, he did out his own mouth, because he didn't want to make her feel bad or didn't want to hurt her. He loved her. He loved her. He never said he didn't love her, but he didn't want to make her feel bad or feel less than. So, I guess our version is eating ain't cheating. His was a little head between friends, never hurt anybody. So he, went after, happened to have a conversation with a young lady one day, and she was discussing how, what she does, like how she goes at it, how she attacks it, how she likes the way she likes giving pleasure. So she likes the sight of a dude, like, legs shaking and all this stuff. She likes the whole shebang of pleasuring a man to completion. She loves it. She gets off on it. So he had never heard a female discuss going down on somebody like that, so with such passion and such vigor. So he, of course, gets her number. They talk about it some more. They talk about other stuff. But he finds himself in a situation one day where he's dropping her off at home. She needed a ride home from work one night. Stop me if you've heard this one before. She needs a ride home from work one night. Him and his girlfriend had gotten into it earlier about a similar situation where he basically almost accused her of not showing enough passion in that department. And so he's driving her home, and the conversation came up again. He was like, yeah, when you told me that, I couldn't believe that a female actually thought like that. And he's telling her, he's basically giving her the rope. He's subconsciously giving her the cheat codes to lower his shield, his relationship shield, that normally he would have up to deflect, females, not female attention basically. Like females flirting with him, he's got a shield up. He's like, yeah, thank you for the compliment, but I got a girlfriend. And he's giving her subconsciously, which people do all the time, is they give these subconscious, without realizing they're doing it, code to their shield. So he's telling her, she doesn't do X, Y, and Z. So the girl is like, shit, I'm attracted to this dude physically. So she's telling him, like, shit, if I was her, I'd be, X, Y, and Z. So his shield is lower. Like, if you picture like a shield generator, or shield is at 100%, it's slowly getting lowered down to 75, 55, 20. It's lowering and lowering to the point where they're in her crib. She's like, well, you can come in for a second if you want to. You want to talk about it some more. So he's just venting, and then next thing he knows, she's changed clothes. Again, stop if you've heard this before. She's changed clothes. She's come back in the room with him. She puts her hand on his lap, and he knows like he shouldn't be doing it, but she was talking that good shit, and she proceeded to back up every letter of every word she had said, and he said it was the best head he ever got. But he didn't want her. Like, nothing about her was what he want in a girlfriend. It was all strictly physical. It was all strictly sex. And so, that ended up happening. His girl, I don't think he never expanded on it further, but I never figured out whether his girl found out about it or not. But he said it was one of those situations where that's what made him do it. And I've heard that refrain or that story told, with different characters, but I've heard that it's a tale as old as time. This person's doing that because you blabbing off or you venting to somebody, you vented to the wrong person, and they are using that as a code. They found your code, they hacked your system, and they lowering their shield down. And next thing you know, that ship gets through, blows up the Death Star. Yes, I'm going to be using Star Wars references to break down complex relationship issues, but I feel like that's how I can communicate best is by using Star Wars references. So her X-Wing invades your Death Star, and boom goes the dynamite. And that's it. It happened with a couple females I've heard that from, where they, the one guy they got at work, that's their work husband and stuff like that, and she's venting to him about what her boyfriend did or didn't do, and He like, damn girl, they couldn't, we've heard it all. Stop me again if you heard this before. Damn girl, I wouldn't do you like that. I'll be knocking the shell out the box. Which guys talk that? Every guy says that to a female because that's the tagline. But so they sorry about that, my alarm went off. So they'll say that. So he's saying that to her, and where she probably wouldn't. It's that one day. It's that one opportunity. That one chance of y'all being one-on-one together, and that's usually all it takes. And the shield was down low enough. Her shield was down to about 35, 40, and his ship slid through, and boom. But like I said, and that was the common, everybody I talked to, that was the common refrain was, it was a situation where I was venting. It was a situation where me and my girl got into it. It was a situation where this and that, and where I didn't intend on cheating that day, with the exception of my one friend I talked to that openly admitted he just likes vagina, so he's whatever. Where he went through with it, he goes through with it willingly. He doesn't have an issue with it. He knows his flaws enough to recognize that he enjoys pleasure in females and enjoys the pleasure of a woman. So he likes to sample it all. He doesn't want to go to the same restaurant. He wants to go to Ponderosa. He wants to be able to pick. One day he may want steak. One day he just may want, lasagna. He wants, he likes to be able to pick. And that was a common thing I heard was it was a chance opportunity, and it usually only takes that one time of you being with that person one-on-one, and bang, boom, bow. Because a lot of times, call it what it is. If you can call somebody a work husband and you got a real husband, that implies some type of emotional or physical connection, and that's usually all it takes. Because I think a lot of you dudes you'd probably go full Ike Turner if you heard some of the shit work husbands say to their work wives, and it's your wife, and if you heard what they said to each other in conversation, I think you'd be madder at her, because a lot of times I've seen women purposely dress up for work a certain way because their work husband was there that day. So at home, they, hair bonnets and flip-flops, but for work husband, they dressing up and shit, and it's like, that's the first step. And once you start down once you start down the path of the dark side, forever will it control your destiny. And I've seen it happen. I've witnessed at work sometimes calling a situation like, she gonna fuck that dude. Like, I'll flat out say, like, she gonna end up fucking him. And lo and behold, you'll hear about it a couple months later, like, oh yeah, he dropped off after the Christmas party. And that's all it took, is that being alcohol, it's a simple equation. Alcohol plus the emotions plus space. And it's boom, equals a connection every single time. I've seen it happen every time. But I think that's what makes people cheat. Like, that's legitimately what makes people cheat is inadequacies and what somebody else isn't doing. Sorry about that, my phone rang. Where was I? Oh, but that's why people cheat. I feel I've discovered is usually time and space and opportunity, and that's usually all it takes, because the connection is already there because you're physically attracted to them. So it's really just a matter of you all being near each other long enough, and that shield being down low enough, and somebody creeps right in. And I've also seen people invite cheating by inviting people into their houses, and it jumping off that way. That's another one. That's another prevalent one, where it's the whole swinging mentality until you've swung, and she enjoys the swing of the other guy's bat, so to speak. And that's all it all took on that one too. Also another situation I've seen where people get married far too young. And so they never have the time to enjoy life or experience different people or experience what they like versus what they don't like. Oh, I like this type of guy, I don't like that type of guy. And so they never experienced it. And so once they start getting attention from other dudes that's not their husband, then it's like a culture shock to them. They're like, wait, what? I'm attractive? I'm attracted to people? Oh, really? I'm attracted to this guy? He looks like Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Like he thinks I'm attractive? And then it goes from there too. So I've seen that happen too. But definitely more often than not, it's inadequacies or when I feel like I'm lacking from this person, and that person's offering it, so you go for it. And like I said, it rarely has anything to do with emotion. From a guy's standpoint, it's rarely emotional. Females cheat on emotion sometimes. I like this guy, I'm feeling him, I'm in love with him, but I'm gonna love my husband too. I've seen that happen. That's usually a female's MO. It's still physical because they're still attracted to the dude, and a lot of times it is physical. But with them, it's majority of emotion, whereas with men, it's majority of, damn, she thick, she talking about doing this and that. I ain't never had that done before. I wonder what that feel like, and you find out what that feels like. But that's it. That's like I said. I activated my comment section on my website on abhinkmedia.com. I've activated the comment section. I guess it wasn't activated before, so God only knows how many people have went to the site and wanted to comment on my questions but couldn't. So the comment section is activated. So I'm gonna probably post this question up there later. Like, why have you, if you have cheated in the past, why did you? Or if you were thinking about it, what made you go that route? Like, what I'm interested in seeing how people's brains work. I like seeing how a clock works. So I like seeing those gears move and what made this one do that and stuff like that. So that's that one. That's one of the topics we're gonna have up there. But that's pretty much, I think that was really all I had to discuss today. I did have a pretty interesting conversation with a female earlier about polygamy versus monogamy. Her thing was, you would cut down on cheating, especially extramarital affairs, if polygamy was more socially acceptable. Here in America, everywhere else is commonplace just about. But in America, mainly it's monogamy. But we'll cheat, but it's monogamy. Like, America is, people cheat like 40 going north on their wives. But God forbid you are polygamist, then that goes too far. Where it's like, well, how? If you can afford to have two wives, they don't have an issue with it. You know, what's the sorry about that, my phone keeps ringing even though I told people I'm recording. But no, it's what was I talking about? Polygamy. Yeah. If it was more socially acceptable here in America, which is not, unfortunately. But if you could afford another wife, her standpoint was, and it was brilliant, and I never thought about it like that. But she's comes from, her father's straight up from Africa, her mother and father from Africa, and so that's a really common thing over there. Is a man would have multiple wives if he could afford it. Like, you could have multiple wives, you could run the household, and she made several good points that I didn't think about and I had to look it up myself. But it does make for a more stronger. Okay, follow me on this. Everybody, put your Bibles away for 2 seconds and just listen. Just hear me out. So her thing was that a polygamous relationship or polygamous family, like a family structure, like a husband, wife, kids, would be better ran with multiple wives. And the first one I heard, I was like, huh? But wouldn't they argue with each other? But if it's a happy household and everybody's on the same page, they wouldn't. So God forbid something happened to dad, you would have moms, plural there, that would raise up the children, where it wouldn't be a situation where the husband dies, now the wife has to fend for herself and make a way for her and her children and struggle. It would be two people there helping each other out to raise their children since their husband is deceased. So from that standpoint, once I started thinking about it that way, I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. And then I started thinking about it further, and it would make for a more structured household. You cut down on two things at that point. You destroy the concept of him ever wanting to or having to cheat, because he's not going to have the time. With two women dealing with, imagine what you go through with one wife. Now times that by 2 or 3. So you're not going to have time. You go every weekend, you're going to be at Home Depot or somebody's florist or somebody's garden department or some project. It's always going to be something for you to do. And from a love standpoint, what more love could a kid get from having 2 or 3 mamas? But I think with with some modern women, they wouldn't be able to grasp the concept of sharing their dude, even though they're already sharing their dude, they just don't realize it. So her thing was, she said bluntly, they all sharing the same dick anyway. They might as well live in the same house. Which, call a spade, perfect point. You're sharing them anyway with some randos, versus this situation where you know who she is, you know what she's about. I think in most polygamous relationships that the first wife would have a say on the others as far as personalities, as far as bringing somebody into the relationship and into the house that builds on it versus taking away from it. So if you're a strong woman and he's a strong man, you wouldn't invite some cash app bum, as I call him, or some hood rat in, because she's gonna come in with that hood rat cash app personality and thought processes of, oh, fuck that bitch, I'm supposed to be number one, isn't it? And then you automatically got dissension, you've got anger, you've got bitterness. It won't work. A car can't drive with two steering wheels, so that's not gonna work. So definitely, I think the polygamy situation, and then she brought up another good point, that monogamy was taught to us during slavery versus our natural Africanic way of thinking. So that was another point of view of it, which I never thought about, but that made perfect sense. But like I said, America, most people and most females won't go for it, because God forbid I openly share them versus me not realizing I'm sharing them anyway. But if you could afford it, I don't see why you would be. I don't see where the moral issue would be, because you're married to her, so you would fulfill the biblical part of it. And again, most people in the Bible have multiple wives. I hate to bring that part up. So you would have a family structure. You'd be married, so that would legally be your wife, that legally be your husband. So in the eyes of God, it would be copacetic. It's just, I think with our human brains, we've tried to decipher what we think God means when he says certain stuff. And we nitpick the Bible. We nitpick which parts of the Bible we want to believe in and reinforce versus those parts that people use the Bible for defenses on their particular arguments. And then when you bring up something else, they're like, oh, well, I mean, it says that, but like, yeah, but it says that along with what you're saying. So should we just not agree with what you just saying? It's people use the Bible as for all type of to defend their nonsense and bullshit, and it gets on my last nerve. But I digress on that point. But we were talking about polygamy versus monogamy, and that's another question we'll put up. Mainly to the females, if you knew the woman and you knew what she was about and you knew how she was raised and brought up, would you allow your husband to marry her and bring her into the fold into your marriage? Or would you be comfortable enough with your would you be able to put your ego in check long enough to do that? And I don't think most people could. But I would love to see what you all think about that one. And honestly, I want to say that's it, you guys. I think we nailed it. I think we came in at an even. Let's see what this timer is at. We came in at an even 27. So let's, should we end it here? We got anything else to discuss? I think we'll say we'll say the Nicki Minaj retirement. We'll save the Sony closing the door on the Spider-Man stuff for the weekend update. We'll save what else we got talking about this weekend? We're going to talk about a lot of stuff this weekend. So the weekend update may just be a full podcast, to be honest with you. So you could probably be looking at episode 5 and 6 within 2 days of each other. Because I want to discuss some more about the Sony stuff that's going on, Nicki Minaj's retirement. The body shamers are at Demi Lovato's neck again, which I don't know why. She looks great. Actually, you know what? Let's discuss that now. That pisses me off too. They made Demi Lovato lose all that weight. She didn't look. She was mainstream America fat, but she was hood thick. So I think you all know what I mean by that. So they talked to her and they shamed her in losing all this weight, and she still looked great. So she released an image the other day of her in a bikini, and of course the fat shamers went at her again. And I was like, what are you all looking at? Like, what are you really looking at that you think is fat? Because I could show you a fat girl. I could show you it. That's my alarm again. I could show you a fat girl that's truly fat. And she ain't it. So I don't know why they feel the need to make her feel so bad. They won't be happy until she kills herself. And then when she kills herself, it'll be another unfortunate suicide because of depression. Like, no, motherfucker, you forced her into doing that. You already see she had a heroin issue. So now on top of that, you're going to give her a body shaming issue. And she's not, I wish I could talk to her for several reasons. But I wish I could have a one-on-one conversation with her just to look at her and be like, hey, idiot, you are more attractive and finer than 99% of the females walking this planet. Why do you continue to listen to these trolls who just want to make you feel bad because they feel bad? They don't feel comfortable with themselves. A woman who looks that good ain't gonna be sitting up here on Twitter all day bad mouthing other females. She gonna be too busy getting chauffeured around and showing the world. She ain't gonna have time for. She too busy on magic carpet rides. She don't have time to be sitting up there trolling people. Listen to What people need to start doing is listen to who your naysayers are. Look at who they are and be like, why am I even listening to this person? Like the Azealia Banks situation. Like Lizzo should have been like, why am I even listening to her? First off, she looks like a skinny, like a skeleton that's covered in chocolate. Like, why am I listening to her? Like, why am I even entertaining this dumb shit? And what I need Demi Lovato to do is realize, look who's talking about you. Look who's badmouthing. Look at their Twitter pictures. Look who's badmouthing you. Agatha, some fugly girl named Agatha is telling you you're fat because she's razor thin and still can't keep a dude. So yeah, you razor thin and in shape by medical standards, but you couldn't keep a man if you had a prison. So why are you listening to her? Demi Lovato, sweetheart, sugar. Listen, you are incredibly attractive. Females who are shaped like you are incredibly attractive. And if you need that reinforced, I will start a Saturday seminar in which I will have a megaphone and yell at you in your face all the ways that you are attractive and gorgeous. You are not fat. Females who look like her hear my voice. You are not fat. There's nothing wrong with being a little thick. There's nothing wrong with having meat on your bones. That's Kelly Clarkson. Her husband would never cheat. Her husband happy as a lark because he got a nice little thick one at home that's about her business, and she's incredibly attractive and talented and got them cakes. What's the issue? What's the problem with being thick? And I think it's cultural. I hate to bring, I'm trying to stay away from the cultural quote unquote conversations, but I think it's cultural. Everybody I've heard say that they're not happy with their body, or they feel like they look a certain way, or they're too fat, are because of the standards, I guess, of which they are brung or raised around. That if you got an ass or you got a black girl booty and stuff like that, that's somehow a negative. Which, well, I knew of a female one time I worked at Staples with who hated her ass, like hated it. She hated her booty. She did not like it because she was told by her family. Okay, she was obviously white. Obviously, she was told by her family that she had a black girl booty, and she was made to feel bad because of it. Like, imagine that. Like, let's talk about that. Imagine that. Imagine being told, and it's used as a negative. But to us being males and black dudes, and a lot of white dudes I know that love a thick woman, to us it's like, damn, she got it going on. She got pretty face, thick hips, nice ass, like she got it going on. But to her, she hated herself when she looked in the mirror because she was always told growing up she had a black girl body, which is it's not just a black thing with me. To me, it's a human ignorance. It's a human ignorance thing of making somebody feel bad about their body based on your own hangups. Like, if it's somebody who's got a flat body and an ironing board back, like they back and ass like are on the same plane. Like you could put if you laid them on their stomach and put a level on their back, the bubble would never move. Like it's just a straight line. You listening to them? They shape like if I was a woman, there wouldn't be no way in hell I would take body advice from another woman who was shaped like a 12-year-old boy. That's not gonna happen. You have nothing to bring to the table, hips wise, thighs wise, ass wise, tits wise. You are shaped like a 12-year-old prepubescent boy, and you got the gall to sit up here and tell me about my body. Go fuck yourself. I don't know how females do it. How y'all do it is beyond me. I be cussing people out 24/7. But she felt, she would cry when black guys told her, because she worked at a store that was, of course, in a predominantly black neighborhood. So she would get flirted with all the time. Like, and it wasn't guys being like perverted. They were like legitimate compliments to her, like, damn girl, like, woo woo. You know how black guys, you know how we get. Y'all know how we get. We see your ass. How our eyes light up like kids on Christmas. You're like, woo woo. Whenever you hear, ladies, anybody who's out there listening to this, whatever your race may be outside of black, listen. Whenever a guy says, or you hear a black guy that's walking behind you say, woo woo, just know it is nothing bad. It's nothing negative. He's not body shaming you. If anything, he wants to body worship you. He likes what you got. If you ever hear a black guy say, woo woo, that automatically just know you got it going on, girl. You doing the damn thing. So the black guys would come in there and talk to her, and she would cry one day. She'd go into the bathroom and cry and have crying fits and all this and that, because she was told and raised her whole life by ignorant ass people to believe that her body, because it was shaped like a black woman's, was a negative, and she was negative for having it, and it just was preposterous to me. It to me, it made no sense, and that was when I first started to get out of my own community and start to like hang out, intermingle with other people, and discover how other people lived and how they were raised and stuff like that. And that's when I discovered that most call it what it is, most like white women, some Indians as far as being born in India, some mainly white though, and mainly Indians were raised to not like their bodies, like not quote unquote not like their bodies, but if they were shaped thicker or like trended towards the thick side, they were like ridiculed relentlessly by their peers and by their family for being shaped like a black woman, which to me boggles my mind that you wouldn't want to be thick. I don't understand how people want to be. I don't understand the thought process of a woman not wanting to be thick. Like that to me, and that may sound whatever, but that's my own personal. I can't understand how they don't like that. Probably because Probably because I enjoy looking at it. To me, it's art. Like it's. I say I'm a lover of fine art. To me, it's art. So I wouldn't want to. I don't see how they don't like it. I think you look amazing, to be honest with you. And I can pull up on my phone 15 dudes right now in the chat room that would agree that would agree wholeheartedly. But she was ashamed of it, like to the point of tears. Like I thought she was gonna kill herself one day because a black dude told her she had a nice ass. Told her she had a fat ass, but he meant it P-H-A-T, not F-A-T. He made it P-H-A-T, which is fat, like is nice. And you would have thought she gonna kill herself. I felt so bad for her that day, and that's when it hit home how different our races are. But see, I've heard on the same token. To be real with y'all, I've heard black people say, "Oh, her sister thick, but she's shaped like a little white girl." And I've heard them say that. So we both say fucked up shit about each other, and I think that's the purpose of this podcast, is so that we can see what each other's. I'm gonna be as open with y'all, and then I hope y'all are as open with me, because I'm well traveled. I've seen it all. I know white people, I know black people, I know Indian, Mexican. The UN. I could go to the UN right now and tell each race about themselves and get along with them perfectly. Get along with them famously. Because I allow myself to listen. And a lot of people are ostrich minded, which is to say they like to have their head in the ground and when la 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 la, I'll ignore it. They want to ignore social issues and everything like that and just, it's remotely controversial. It's remotely, out of my own wheelhouse. I don't want to hear about it. But you don't advance that way. You don't grow that way. So I like to hear about different people. And when I heard that most white women that have asses were told that they were shaped like black women and it was as a negative, or I've heard them say they were always trying to get rid of it and couldn't, it just boggled my mind, because I couldn't imagine, especially in yoga pants. But I digress. Also, it's yoga pants season, fellas. Pumpkin spicy yoga pants, gotta love it. Ugg boots and yoga pants. But that blew my mind. Like when I hear different stuff about different races and what they consider to be negatives, it just blows my mind. But like I said, the body shaming stuff has to stop, because they're not gonna happy. People ain't gonna be happy. Her negative fans ain't gonna be happy until she, unfortunately, commits suicide. Her being Demi Lovato. But they gotta stop doing that. We gotta stop doing that, man. The culture police and the body shaming it has to. There's nothing wrong with that woman at all. I looked at that picture and could see nothing wrong with my eyes. But then I switched my filter over to the other side, quote unquote, and I was like, oh, she has a black girl booty, and that's where it came, and that's where the negative ire comes from. They think if you're thick, you're fat, and I don't understand how that works. But that's it. So we're going to end this one now. You guys take it easy. Next time you'll be hearing from me will be for the weekend wrap-up. And like I said, check us out, abhinkmedia.com. Check us out on Instagram, AB_HINC Media. And on Facebook, it's Abhink Media, all one word, ABHINC Media. On Facebook, it's our official Facebook page. And that's it. Peace and love. Y'all take care of yourselves.
Oh, baby, you are so talented. And they are so dumb.